Welcome back. We spent the previous lesson discussing warm season crops for sunny spaces. Now let's talk about the options for growing a veggie garden in shady spots. In this lesson, we'll talk about the types of shade you have in your garden, which cool season vegetables grow best in shady places, and we'll also talk about special care techniques for growing in shade. There are two main types of shade for growing: partial shade or dappled shade. Use your sun survey, and if you have 3 to 4 hours of sunlight in the morning or afternoon, you have what's called partial shade. You can also grow some vegetables and herbs if you have what's called dappled shade. That's where you get sunlight, but it's filtered through the leaves, trees, or shrubs. If you found that you have either type of shade in your sun survey, you can still grow some delicious vegetables and herbs, just not every vegetable and herb. The shade is also different depending on whether it's shade in the morning versus shade in the afternoon. Some delicate plants, like lettuce, prefer morning sun and afternoon shade. So if we look at the sun survey I provided, we can see the best place to plant lettuce is where it gets morning sun and afternoon shade. You could also fill a hanging basket with lettuce and hang that from a branch of a tree that gets dappled shade. Now, afternoon sun is harsher, so hardier herbs like rosemary and thyme do well when they get morning shade and afternoon sun, so they could be planted in this area. Just about all cool season vegetables can grow with some shade. Vegetables and leaves may not be as large or as robust as those grown in full sun, but they'll still be really tasty. Leafy greens can be harvested at any size, so you can enjoy them while they're young and tender. Some edibles that you can grow in shade include lettuces, Asian greens, arugula, spinach, and basil. And you can also grow root vegetables like carrots, beets, potatoes, turnips, and radishes. I've provided a list of the top 10 shady plants in your class materials. We've talked about the keys to success for growing vegetables and herbs in small spaces, and those apply to gardening in shade too. But here are some special care considerations for shady spots. If you want to add more sun to a shady area, consider trimming some of the low-hanging branches to let in more sun, or try to create a microclimate by planting in light that's reflected from a fence or a wall. If you are planting in the ground under trees, plant in raised beds that are lined with plastic to keep your edibles from competing with the tree roots. No matter where you plant your shady space garden, avoid watering too much because the soil will not dry out as quickly as when you plant in a sunny spot. Always water it at the root zone too. There's extra moisture and less air circulation in shady spots, so give plants a little extra space between each other to avoid spreading leaf diseases. Thin plants to give them room to grow, and harvest as soon as the plant is ready so that you keep your crop producing. For example, with leaf lettuce like this, it's called cut and come again, so as long as you keep the roots intact, the lettuce will keep growing. So let's take an example. Just go into your lettuce, take a little lettuce here, and some lettuce right from here. And so I'll be able to use this lettuce in the salad for tonight, and the rest of this will come back. And if we're going to take a look at pinching back basil like this, the basil will keep on growing. So what we'll do is we'll look for a place where the basil is branching a little bit, called a node, and take a little clipping from that, and the basil will branch out and it'll keep growing from there. You can take another snip of basil there and here. And so with my greens, use this for my salad tonight, and my plants will still keep on growing. Let's take a different approach for growing lettuce in your shady location. Instead of planting lettuce in the ground, you can plant it in a hanging basket like this one. Let me show you how to do that. First, you can repurpose a hanging basket, something maybe that had flowers in it last season, and take your coffee filter to cover the holes in the bottom of the basket to keep the soil from washing out when you water your basket. And then we're just going to fill it up with a nice loose potting soil. This is a potting mix that's a good quality, nice and loose so that it'll drain well and so that the little roots of our lettuce plants will be able to grow through it easily. So fill up our container. Not quite all the way, several inches below the rim. That's probably good. And I'm going to add a little organic fertilizer, a little plant food, kind of mix that in. So we get our plants off to a really good start, and smooth out the top for a nice planting surface. And I'm going to take a package of lettuce seeds, and this is a gourmet salad blend, so it's going to be really colorful. It's going to have lots of different kinds of lettuce, but any leaf lettuce will work for this kind of planting. And you'll just lightly sprinkle the seeds. Start at one edge and just lightly sprinkle the seeds over the top of that soil. Kind of fill it in pretty good if you want a nice full basket. And then we're going to kind of tap those down a little bit just to make sure they have good seed to soil contact. Take a little more potting soil, and I just cover it lightly because these are delicate seeds. You don't want to cover them too much, maybe a quarter, half inch of soil, and tap that in a little bit. And of course, water them in. And keep them nice and moist. Don't let the seeds dry out, especially when they're first starting to sprout. Keep the soil nice and moist. And in about 30 days, that's all, just 30 days, you'll be able to start harvesting baby lettuce leaves. And that is kind of a double purpose. You'll be able to use baby lettuce leaves, but it also thins out the lettuce as it's growing. And so you'll be able to grow more, and you can just keep harvesting, let little leaves, adding them to your salad, and enjoying your lettuce basket for several months in the summer. Next up, I'm going to share tips with you on how to grow a healthy small space garden.